Everybody, my name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning 2 p.m. on the Eastern Time Zone as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us on television. That's Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. You can also find us on the radio at 92.9 FM. That's the biggest country station in South Carolina. So we appreciate that opportunity to be able to send all of our guests out there all over the world. Continue watching us also on social media. A lot of you still do Facebook Live and YouTube, so appreciate you doing that as well. Continue sending email. It just makes my day. Donna at donnasedge.com. Donna at donnasedge.com. One of your favorite guests is with us right now. My favorite guest too. And his name is Peter Young. And Peter, let's let people know a little bit more about you. Let's talk about your background, then we'll dig in.
Sure. I kind of joke and I give people the Reader's Digest version of my life. I grew up in New Jersey and I wanted to be the next Larry Bird. And I was cocky and young and I was so confident I was going to be in the NBA. And that didn't happen. But I did play college basketball. And then I got into coaching and I was going to be the next, let's see, I'll go down somewhere in the South. I was going to be the next Mike Krzyzewski or Dean Smith or Jim Valvano. And that didn't happen. And then I got into sports broadcasting and I was going to be the next Bob Costas. And that didn't happen either. So I have written a couple novels about faith in college basketball. And Donna, I make sure I keep reminding myself I'm not looking to be the next John Grisham or Pat Conroy. I'm just finally trying to be the best version of me that I could be.
That's all you have to do. That's it. Yeah. But you've got a lot of listeners on this program and folks who watch the show. So more than you know. So you just never know what's going to happen. Yeah. That's just the way it goes. And we pride ourselves on Donna's Edge by having the best guests. And so I think that you absolutely fit in line with that. NCAA coming up.
Oh, it's such a great time of year to be a basketball fan. Really March Madness kind of bleeds into the last, few days of February and then the first few days of April. So really it kind of has the feel of March Madness now because where I live, the high school basketball playoffs have already started. And so I love watching high school basketball and calling those games. And then once you get into the league championships, the first week of March with the ACC or the SEC and all the leagues, and then you get the NCAA tournament. It's just, if you love college basketball, it's just such a great time of year. There's so many games to watch.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I grew up in the South where it's college football, and so it's always been a fun time for me. But I've really migrated to basketball lately in the past few years.
Yeah, my best game ever. So I'm going to tell you this story, and I hope it doesn't mislead people because I was really good at this. I did a lot of this in my career, sitting on the bench and cheering. But my best game ever was against Vanderbilt. We played at a Christmas tournament in Stanford, so at Palo Alto, California, my last year there. And I had 17.6 rebounds, hit a three to tie with about 10 seconds to go. But then Vanderbilt went ahead and won that game. And I think that year they won the NIT, or as the year prior. So I didn't play a whole lot of games in the South. My last college game, actually, in the NIT, Donna, was at South Carolina. So we lost at South Carolina, my last college game.
Well, I'll tell you what, people around here are very proud of their college. Clemson and South Carolina, and they almost make you choose since we moved here about a year ago. Okay, now which one is it, Clemson or South Carolina?
Right. Right. See, where I live is Montana, so there's no pro sports at all in Montana. So, and we only have two Division I colleges. We got Montana and Montana State. So Montana Grizz and the Bobcats of Montana State. And then it is a big deal. Like there's the Super Bowl, but then in football there's Cat Grizz. That is the Cat Grizz game once a year. Mm-hmm. And for Montana, honestly, that game is almost bigger than the Super Bowl every year. It's that big a deal.
It's the Iron Bowl for us in Alabama. I have one of those mixed marriages. I'm the Auburn fan. Phil is the Alabama fan. Yeah. so,
And you,
and we make the marriage work. You know, a lot of people don't even get married if they're of opposing teams. It's just the oddest thing. But anyhow, somehow it works, except for that 1 week out of the year, the Iron Bowl.
yeah, yeah.
We fight like cats and dogs that week.
You know, and you and I were talking about the NIL and the changes to college sports before we came on live. And, you know, I find it fascinating. I know everybody has their opinion of it. And so to me, it's kind of a combination of the NIL, all the money, and the transfer portal. And so I think back to, again, you know, my teammates, we played a long time ago. We really weren't that good, but we had such a great time. We loved sharing stories. And many of my teammates, we played together for 4 years, 3, 4, 5 years together, because I redshirted. So I was at college for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And so I'll get calls from my old teammates, and I'm talking 30 years ago, like we played. And I'll get calls from old teammates, and we'll talk about the good old days, and we'll laugh until our stomachs hurt. And then, you know, the hour-long conversation ends, and I'll call them again in 6 months to a year. But the guys nowadays, Donna, they go from school to school to school. So they get paid a certain amount of money as a freshman. They don't start. And instead of, you know, suck it up, buttercup, play harder, earn that starting spot, they go to a different school and they transfer again and again. And if you only play that 1 year, you're really missing out on those relationships, those long-term relationships with teammates that, you know, 10, 20, 30 years from now, they won't have. And so in some ways, yes, it's part of the kid's fault. In some ways, it's part of, you know, the sport, the coaches, the administration, and everybody takes some blame. But I really feel for those kids nowadays who are going from school to school to school. They're not going to have those long-term relationships and experiences that I got to have. And I think they're missing out.
Oh, I think they are too. I know I talked to a lot of the players who played for Coach Paul Bear Bryant in Alabama, and these guys were playing in the 1960s and 1970s. And, you know, Coach Paul Bear Bryant wasn't always a winning coach, you know, so he puts a play together. And so I got to interview all of these guys. And then I got to go to, my husband and I were invited to go to a very special reception. And this is where all the guys got together, and it was like they were kids again. And so we're in this auditorium, and a lot of them were getting, you know, rewards and that kind of thing. And I told Phil, I said, look at these guys. They're in their 60s and their 70s, and they're acting like they're 10 again. Yeah. I mean, it's just, they were just, you know, just jabs at each other and stuff like that. But I see what you mean, because these guys built a lifetime relationship of being friends. Yep. And a lot of what they learned in coaching, they brought into the business world, and most of them are extremely successful guys. Well, they're all successful. Some outdid others, but to make it a long story short, it's about relationships, and we just need that in everyday life.
You know, so I'm in my late 50s, and you're exactly right. I'll get on the phone with some old teammates, and most of them live back east. And we laugh and tell stories like we were 18, 19 years old again. And it's so much fun, you know, and I still have gray hair, still have wrinkles, but I'm taken back to that moment. And I also think, you know, because again, I've written a couple novels on faith and basketball. And to me, you know, a great story is more than just plot and character. It has a message behind it. And so much of sports, and you alluded to it, is beyond the playing field or the court. It's all the life lessons you learn. So I always say that, you know, the lessons you learn as a baseball player or as a basketball player is applicable to the butcher, the banker, and the baker, right? It's working hard, respect for authority, following the rules, setting goals, etc. And to me, again, you know, when I played, again, it's a long time ago, if a kid transferred, Donna, your first thought was, what's wrong? What happened? A lot of times if the kid transferred, he wasn't getting playing time, and he might have been a bad egg, you know, a bad locker room presence. Now everybody transfers. And I think the kids are losing that valuable lesson of, you know what, life's hard. Suck it up. Don't go looking for greener pastures. You stay where you're at, and you fight and work harder to get that starting job. I just think we're missing the mark in college sports right now.
And think about this with Coach Paul Bear Bryant. And I'm not even an Alabama fan, but I sure did respect him as a coach. And so the technique was the wishbone technique. And they call them the wishbone boys. A book has been written about them. I mean, it's just all kinds of stuff. But they were able to go back. No amount of money you could earn could get you that. I mean, I don't see it. because there's just something about building a relationship. I have friends I went to high school with. We hardly ever see each other, hardly ever talk. But when we do connect, you would think we hadn't lost a minute with each other.
Yeah.
We act like little girls again.
Yeah. And there was kind of a viral speech Rick Pitino gave last year. So again, Rick Pitino is now at St. John's, and of course, people in the South obviously know him. He was famous at Kentucky and Louisville, and I'm sure there's when you say that name, you get mixed emotions. But this viral talk was at the halftime of a game at Madison Square Garden. I think they were playing Providence. They were down big, and I think they came back and won. And he's dropping a bunch of F-bombs, but the point was he's getting on these kids who are really good, and he's not letting up. I mean, he is in their face. He's very emotional, and is basically the challenge is, where is your toughness? This is life. Learn to deal with it. You're down 20 at the half. Your business is about to go under. You're down 15 with 10 minutes to go. You might be facing a divorce or staring at something like that. This is life. Life is hard. Learn to deal with it now on the basketball court where no one's going to die. You're not going to lose your business, but you get to learn these lessons now on the basketball court that will help you when it's really important in life. I love talking about that stuff.
Oh, I do too. And I think everybody's a coach to some extent. And I was listening to Joe LeBeau, who used to play for Coach Paul Bear Bryant. And he said, I was cocky and young. He said, I thought I knew more than Bear Bryant did. And so he started staying out late and stuff like that. And he said, so he calls me into his office. And that was a dreaded thing. He never wanted to go into his office. Yeah. And I said, was he really tough? What was he like? And he said, not like you'd think. He said, he was to be respected. And he said, he really didn't say that much. He said, we just knew where the line was.
Right. Well, and that's a big point that, I love listening to little social media clips of Nick Saban, and Coach Saban basically, in a nutshell said, you have to hold players accountable. You have to do it in business. You have to do it in all your relationships. And too many coaches, want to kind of be the player's friend, which I get it. You're recruiting kids. That's part of the business. But your friend second, your coach first, and you have to hold people accountable. There are good ways to do that, and there are bad ways to do that. But the primary point he was making is, if you don't hold your players accountable as a coach, then you lose their respect. And he's right.
I think so too. And I wanted to point this out to you, or just ask you this question. So when it comes to cult leaders, are they looking for people who may not be somebody who plays for the team? I don't care what it is in life. It could be football, basketball, or it could be running a company. Are they always looking for that weak link? Do you consider not playing as a team member the weak link?
Yeah, so they clearly do look for the weak link. They really look for the most vulnerable in society. So again, maybe for those listeners that don't know my backstory, for many of these years, as I was a national sports broadcaster working for networks, ESPN was one of them, I was sucked into this tiny little religious cult, and no one had any idea what was going on in my private life. I hid it very well. And so my vulnerability was that I loved my wife, and my wife adored the cult leader. So yes, cult leaders specifically look for the person who's most vulnerable, because those people are the most easily manipulated. Because the cult leader, it's called undue manipulative mind control. To me, that's what all cults have in common. They have a leader and then someone who exhibits undue manipulative mind control. So now let's take the exact opposite side of the coin, Donna. The exact opposite side of the coin would be a guy like Dean Smith, Nick Saban, Mike Krzyzewski. They're a leader and they have a lot of influence, but their influence is positive. They're trying to get the best out of the kid, out of that player. And it's all voluntary. Listen, if you don't want to play for me, you can transfer, you can enter the portal, or you can choose not to play. But the idea is that it is a very positive, I'm trying to get the best out of this person. Okay, that's the coach. The flip side is the cult leader. They don't want what's the best for you. They want you constantly doubting yourself. They want you to stay vulnerable so that you have to rely on the cult leader. Big difference.
We went to a commercial break, and we're going to come right back in just a few minutes. So everybody hang in there with me, okay? We'll be right back. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
This is U.S. Senate candidate Don Brown. This race for the United States Senate in North Carolina is a race of we the people versus they the establishment. The Constitution's first three words are not we the establishment, but we the people. And because of our great grassroots conservatives in North Carolina, I'm pleased to say that we have the establishment candidate that's being rammed down our throats by big money, Mike Whatley. We've got him on the run. As a matter of fact, within the last few days, the Whatley campaign appears to have spent millions on television ads going into a primary race, and even has enlisted the AFP, which is an anti-Trump organization, to go knock on doors for him. My Democrat opponent, Roy Cooper, has not having to do this. Why? Because Roy's got no competition. We're about to take Whatley out. I need everybody to keep it up. Please go to the polls if you haven't. And if you have gone to the polls, please encourage others to go as well. We will win this by force multiplication. Also, while we don't have to raise all the money that Whatley has raised, we got to raise enough to stay in a boxing ring. So please consider donating to our campaign. You can go to brown4nc.com and just hit the donate button. But above all else, get to the polls, get your friends and family members to the polls, and everyone you know, Don Brown for the United States Senate. This campaign will be a victory for we the people and a victory for the United States Constitution. Thank you so much.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show, radio, and also podcast talk show. Thank you again so much for watching. We appreciate it. Continue sending email. It just really makes my day. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. So I'm talking right now with Peter Young. He's an author. He's a speaker. A sports enthusiast. You know something? I was raised in a neighborhood of doing nothing but boys. There were no girls in there. So guess what? I had to be tough. And I loved football and basketball. It was so much fun, and so many lessons were learned out of it. And I kind of grew up with that, where basically when you get older, you're a coach of other folks. I mean, you really are. Whether you're a business owner or your family, I'm going to tell you what, the hand that rocks the cradle, that person's got the toughest job in the world. I'll just tell you that. So we're talking about how things relate. Let's talk about the portal again. How easy it is. It's almost like an easy divorce, and I've been divorced too, and a lot of people have. There are more divorces now than ever. And even with straight and with gay people, I've heard their divorces are pretty rough too, just like ours. But I'm saying all that to say this: when it's so easy to get out of a contract, is that good for the world? Is that good for you in the long run?
Yeah, good question. When I played, we had a kid transfer in from Michigan State, and he wasn't getting a whole lot of playing time, so he transferred. I played at George Washington University, so we were your classic mid-major. Then I had two kids that transferred in from the Naval Academy, because after your sophomore year, you got to commit, and then 4 years after you're done with college, you have to serve in the military. So they came over, and then we had another kid from Maryland who transferred in. Again, he got recruited by Lefty Driesell, the famous Maryland basketball coach, who then got forced out. So this guy transferred in. So we had transfers at our school, but it was not the norm. And then they stuck around. They didn't, they weren't, again, continually looking for greener pastures. They all had a legitimate reason to transfer. So don't get me wrong. I like the idea that kids have the ability to go elsewhere, that they have the freedom, the free agency, if you want to call it, to look to get a better situation. And sometimes they picked the wrong school to start with. However, I think I'm the classic example of I didn't leave. My freshman year I redshirted. And then the next year I didn't get much playing time until finally my fifth year. So my last year I was tri-captain, and I got some pretty good minutes, had some pretty good games. But it never crossed my mind to transfer, let's say go down to like a Division II NAIA or even small Division I. I was obsessed with proving I can play. I'm going to prove you wrong. You don't think I'm good? Oh, really? Hold my beer. And we probably did too much drinking in college, but hold my beer. I'm going to prove you wrong. And again, I think it's okay for kids that they have the right to leave. But when I see or read about kids going to 3 different schools in 4 years, to me, that's a problem. That kid needs to learn the skill, because it is a skill, of sticking to it, not giving up, and being an overcomer.
Well, something, if you run a business, you can't just walk off because you don't like a customer. Right. I mean, you got to stick with that business. Otherwise, you're going to fail. Yeah.
And again, the message when I played a long time ago was, if you transferred in, there was a problem, right? And you always thought like, well, wait, what's wrong with this kid?
Yeah, what's wrong? What happened?
And I'm not saying, again, that's the case nowadays, because the transfer portal is in the thousands. I mean, it's staggering to me that the game has really changed. And I think because of the way the game has changed, and I'm talking specifically football and basketball, you've seen coaches like Tony Bennett, Jay Wright, Roy Williams, Nick Saban, and a lot of other coaches, very successful, people that have won national championships, kind of say, I'm done. I don't want to coach in this kind of environment. And to me, that's kind of a tragedy, because we are losing all of these, brilliant coaches.
Great.
And you started off this segment too, Donna, with the point about, like in life, we are all coaches. And I love that analogy. I'm a father of 5 kids. So yeah, I'm the coach for my kids, but I've also been a coach, and it's amazing the impact a coach can have on so many young lives. It's such an opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. I saw an interview with Joe Namath, and he was talking about when he was playing for Coach Paul Bear Bryant too. Well, he stayed out past the curfew, and guess what? He didn't get to play the big game.
Right.
And he was talking about that, and the person who interviewed him, of course, she was trying to get him riveted. And she said, well, did that change what you thought about Coach Paul Bear Bryant? And he said, at the time, I did, sure. I'm a human. He said, but later, it's probably one of the best lessons I ever learned.
Right. And that's the same thing with our kids. The same thing when I was a kid. Nobody likes correction and being held responsible when they're that age, and it's very immediate. But then you look back and you can realize that if I did not have those people in my life, so my parents and my coaches, and they were not setting guardrails, they were not holding me accountable, life would have been a lot harder. Life would have been a lot harder if I had not learned those lessons as a kid. So that's where, to me, I know I can look at my life, the fact that I had all of those coaches helping hold me accountable, it was a huge help to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I had some of the best teachers on earth. I'm just telling you, we had problems at home when I was growing up. And I think I had teachers who knew that. Yeah. And they just seemed to take a little bit of extra care with me. Not that I was a pet or anything like that. It was nothing like that. But I think a good coach and a good teacher, they will just notice those things. There will be something about that student or that player that they're going to notice.
Right. Well, and oftentimes too, if you're on a team that's really close, you kind of call yourselves family, right? For some kids, they might not have a strong father figure at home. They might not have a father at all. And so then the coach fulfills that role. It kind of comes like a surrogate dad. So I've seen that. I saw that when I was playing. And then when I was coaching, I didn't do a whole lot of coaching, but at the high school level, I put in a couple of years, really loved it. And like you said, you can kind of see the kids that are starving for attention. And even if it's, hey, Bobby or Mike or Freddie, pick it up. Let's go. You got to work harder. You're still showing that kid, I care about you. I'm interested in your success. I care about you.
Oh, my goodness. I'll never forget Miss Ritchie. I was the shyest person in school. I got quietest in Who's Who. So we have speech. And wouldn't you know, she picked on me first. I thought that woman was just mistreating me. Now that I look back, she wasn't mistreating me at all. As a matter of fact, she was a little bit surprised. Actually, when I got in front of the class, I could speak. It was weird. But I couldn't speak one-on-one. I was so shy. I would run away. But anyway, all it takes is just somebody who notices something in you that you don't notice, but they do, and they bring it out. And I'm glad to have those people in my life.
Sorry, Donna. And one lesson that I learned as a player and as a coach that I think is important is, if you're in practice and the coach is not really, getting on you, holding you accountable, encouraging you, or pointing out what you did wrong, that's a problem. You may think, wow, this is great. Coach doesn't get on me. But if the coach is not getting on you, coach doesn't care. It's the really good players who get a lot of playing time, and then the coach and the good coach holds them accountable. And I remember having that talk with a kid, many years ago. I had just got done playing, and it was in practice, and he was a good player. This is the University of Colorado, my first year in coaching. And he had been a starter the year before, and coach just lit into him. And you could just see his shoulders drop, head drops. And he didn't like it. And I approached him after practice. I said, listen, you got 2 choices. You're a good player. You get a lot of playing time. Coach wants the best for you. He's going to ride you. Or you can be like I was for a lot of years. And coach doesn't care because I didn't play much. Well, I know which one I would want, right? I would want coach watching everything I did and holding me accountable.
Me too.
And again, if you haven't played sports, that's a hard lesson to learn.
Absolutely. Peter, we're going to have to go. I can't believe how fast this show is going by. How can folks get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can go to my website at authorpeteryoung.com. Again, I've got 2 sports novels about faith and basketball that are already out, The Blue Team and Wardrobe of the Wolf. And then the 3rd and final book of the series will get released sometime this year in 2026.
That's great. Can't wait to hear more from you. Absolutely. Folks, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for watching. You make my day. You really do. You can find us on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. And listen to that good old country music if you like that kind of music. And you'll find that on WZLA. They're the biggest in South Carolina. Again, thank you so much and have a great, great day.